colleagues, I welcome you to today's sitting.
On Tuesday, 11th March 2025, members of Parliament urged government to increase funding to the Uganda Communications Commission to improve ICT access in schools.
The committee recommends that government, through Uganda Communications Commission, increases funding allocation towards ICT in education, specifically computer supply, maintenance, and infrastructure in schools. The programs would be increased to cover the secondary schools to ensure that many other schools benefit from ICT as opposed to the current arrangement where very few schools are supported. Government through UCC should extend broadband connectivity to all secondary schools. This will eliminate the cost incurred by schools under the program for providing and meeting the cost of internet connectivity. And Right Honourable Speaker, I think this is being covered under UDAP Phase 5. Government should extend the national electricity grid to schools in the rural area if they are to benefit from the program.
Most schools in the rural areas do not have the kind of facilities which can be able to house either power facilities in terms of electricity, or even have the type of laboratories or buildings to house ICT equipment and infrastructure.
My only school, Kabirumaedo SS, had to take a computer exam for S4, but we had to hire computers. This should stop really. We cannot be talking about competence-based curriculum without equipment like a computer.
You can imagine from a rural area, a student finishing senior 6 without touching a computer. It makes our people to lag behind, and it is an embarrassment.
We need to hear from the Minister of Energy about dedicated power lines to schools, to hospitals, to public places that give the people of this nation services.
In the ICT that we are in today, the world we are in today, there's a software called JAWS that students or learners who cannot see can use ably. But I am sure that none of these computers has that software. So my appeal to government is that since this is a right, at least for every computer that is taken to a school, can we have one that has that software?
Honourable Minister, we need you to engage finance strongly on this. If money is meant for rural communication infrastructure, that business of saying we only give you 50%, then 50% goes to the consolidated fund. Some of us who come from rural areas, we shall be cheated and you won't be able to help.
We hear the appeal that all the schools should access computers. That's correct, but the limitation has been the resources. When computers are extended to school, we also provide solar services where the national grid hasn't reached. So I want you to check your constituencies. If there is a school which receives the computers and they don't have power, then we have to put solar power before the national grid arrives, because it doesn't make sense to provide the computers and you put them in the store.
During the sitting, the welfare of ferry operators took center stage in Parliament as members of Parliament raised concerns over their poor remuneration and job security following the proposed closure of Karuma Bridge.
Minister of Works has announced a second closure of Karuma Bridge. Traffic, because of the closure, will now massively be diverted to use now Renkunye Masinde Apache route. There is really high job security for the operators at Masinde Port Ferry, which hangs in balance. Minister of Public Service should immediately effect and consider reviewing of payments of the operators, including other ferry management team, because at the moment they advertised and they have given them only a payment salary of 240,000 shillings.
We very well know the bill was assented to, and these people had no work. So as Ministry of Works, Public Service, we had to call them back on contract. And when we gave them a contract, it stipulated the salary which they are supposed to earn according to public service standing orders.
This weekend, I think my phone was flooded with messages from those workers of ferries, and I even took time and I called you over the same. Because, you see, this issue of RAPEX, how it's being handled, on the implementation, Honourable Minister for Public Service, they are not putting into special consideration of some of these technical jobs which were being done. To renew a certificate, and I received information which I shared with the minister, to renew a certificate, these workers told me that they require 25 to 30 million. Now, you pay him money which in a year won't renew his, won't facilitate renewal of a license.
The RAPEX committee agreed that ferry operators and the people who run our graders in local government and so on, and the mechanics, be treated as scientists. What does that mean? It means that the public service pay scale of U8 will not now apply to them, because these are technical people. They are well schooled in their field of operation. They are now being considered as scientists. Therefore, it's going to go up.
On Wednesday, 12th March 2025, Parliament approved a supplementary request of over 4 trillion shillings that will provide outstanding certificates for road construction companies, security, and completion of infrastructure for the hosting of the Africa Cup of Nations AFCON 2027.
In order to provide for these expenditures, the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development issued supplemental expenditure within 3% of the approved budget, amounting to Uganda shillings 1.113 trillion, representing 1.54% of the approved budget. This exhausts the supplementary limit under 3%. Additionally, we sought and obtained approval from Cabinet to present to this House the supplementary expenditure amounting to Uganda shillings 3.142 trillion, which is above the 3% legal limit, and therefore requires prior parliamentary approval before the funds are utilized by the respective votes.
I request the House approves the supplementary expenditures under Schedule number 3 for the financial year 2024-2025, totaling to 4,254.968 billion as outlined in the Table 3 and detailed by the vote in the supply schedules for the proposed supply schedules.
Your duty today as colleagues is to subject every single request to the law. Is it unforeseen? Is it unavoidable? Is it an emergency? That's the duty you have on behalf of the country.
I put a question that the report of the Committee of Supply be adopted by this Honorable House. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. Let's have it.
In the sitting, members of Parliament expressed concerns following reports that high fees are being charged at the private wing of Mulago Specialised Women and Neonatal Hospital. This followed the consideration by Parliament of the resolutions of the Second Women's Parliament.
The Second Women's Parliament considered the following motions, Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues. One was a motion for a resolution of the Second Women's Parliament urging government to strengthen and enhance opportunities and access education for the girl child. The second resolution of the Second Women's Parliament urged government to implement gender-responsive change action and resilience building in support of women effort in the agricultural sector. The third one was a motion for a resolution of the Second Women's Parliament urging government to strengthen the policies and initiatives for women economic empowerment and financial independence. And the last resolution was a motion of resolution of Second Women's Parliament urging government to strengthen women participation in politics and eliminate barriers to inclusive democracy.
Just yesterday, I was in Mulago Specialized hospital, and trying to help a woman who delivered, and she was asked to pay 2 million shillings for cesarean section. In Mulago, a government hospital, we have a Ministry of Health. It has, all of them are ladies, like Senga has suggested. Then you ask, such a policy, how did it pass?
With the information of my colleague, and when we are talking about these resolutions, I am going to take it on, and we call the management as a ministry, and we look how can we have affordable costs that our women can afford. Yes, it is private, but how can we make people get affordable services even if it is a private wing?
Thank you, thank you. The house is Adija and Sandain.